Hello, this is Kelly at the Inky Gnome. Thank you for joining me today. I am featuring the Joseph's Coat technique using a MissInkStamps stencil, the Cheetah spots. Really fun. And I love using neon colored inks with a contrasting color like black or white. And that is a great thing to use for this technique because it is so bold and looks amazing finished with the finished product. So I pulled out these old neon ink pads I had from Hero Arts. There's a lot of fun brands that make neon inks right now. There's some distress inks that would work great that are brighter colors. A lot of people have a lot of those, and those come in the little cubes too, so they're very cost effective. So I'm just going to go around and I'm kind of doing a rainbow background with the different neon colors. I've got a blue, green, yellow, and a pink. And I'm using some foam blenders. You can use blending brushes or the foam. Whatever you like to use for ink blending works just fine. You'll notice I have a bigger brush applicator on the left there that I'm going to use when I'm doing the entire background over it in black. Those are really nice for doing a large area. I'm just loving using stencils right now. They're my favorite thing to do. There are so many techniques that you can do with them. You can get so many different looks. They're very inexpensive. MissInkStamps has single stencils like the one that I'm using today. Start at $6.99, and then there's go up from there. But all of the single ones start at $6.99. And then there's some layered sets, some fun sets with 4 stencils that go together, just all kinds of different things. And even the single stencil, there are so many things you can do with it. Just using different colors, different products with them can make them look completely different. So it's just such a fun thing to play around with. So I love how going together with these, blending together on the edges, and it doesn't have to be a perfect blend on this because you're covering up part of the background, so you're just trying to get some good color in there. But I love how bringing together the pink and the blue there brings out that purple as well. Such a fun look. It reminds me so much of tie-dyed stuff from my teenage years in the 80s and 90s. I think that's why I love these bright colors so much, because of when I grew up. So I have that Cheetah Spot stencil, and I used some pixie spray on it to make the back sticky, but you could also just tape everything down. And I'm just going to place that right over my inked background. Now you can do, besides ink blending on the background, you could do alcohol inks. You could use a fun patterned paper as the background that's more subtle, and use a subtle change in color over it to get a completely different look. But here I'm using a very bright background and then the dark black to use completely over it. I know you're thinking when you see this, oh no, what are you doing covering all that up? But you'll see when it comes up how amazing it looks. So I'm just going to take that and make sure you get really good ink application there all over the background through the stencil. Make sure it comes out that deep color in contrast. And I had I sped up this video so that it was around 10 minutes, but I just double timed it, so it actually was about 20 minutes, just under. So it is a fairly quick card. I got the background ready and this ready to do, and look, voila. And look at that great contrast with a dark black ink over those bright colors. It looks so amazing. So I had gotten a card base ready with the black card base, and I used this great matte gold paper to make a mat for my card front, and also use for my die cutting for the front of my card. And I love with stenciled backgrounds, they're so beautiful, and you don't want to cover the entire thing up. So I love using those with just a simple die cut sentiment or foliage, leaves, a flower, things like that, so that it's still keeps that focus on that great background there that you have. So I'm just going to put the card front onto my card that I have ready to go. And I just left a very small border around each layer just so you get a little peek of that gold around the edges. You could also, since you're only seeing the edges of that gold, you could use the middle and do some die cutting out of it first so that you're using up some of that paper that you're not going to see before you put it down. So I die cut the sentiment 2 different ways so that once I was finished, I could see which way I preferred after it was done. I used a few layers of just a cheap white thick cardstock behind the sentiment as well to put a couple layers behind before putting it all together, just to add some dimension. And that holds up really well, especially if you're putting cards through the mail often. Keeps them from getting squished down and keeps that dimension standing up. I'm just going to glue this together now and put it on my card. And I had thought about using some matte gold bling on the front of my card that would go along with that paper, which I think would look really cute as well. But I happen to just have these new this new sequin mix that had some kind of similar neon colors in it, so I pulled some of those out to play around with. I'm just gonna put that onto the background of the sentiment and attach that to the front of my card, and that leaves a lot of that great background left to see and enjoy. You could also pop this up with foam tape if you wanted, especially if you're not sending through the mail. That would hold up just fine. So get that on the middle there. And my glue comes out white, but so you will see it through the sequins, but once it is dry, it completely clears, so you will not see it anymore. I just like to kind of play around, put them in different areas and see what I think looks best. Sometimes just scatter them around. You could also put a couple on the sentiment in this case, since it's kind of a thicker area to work with. But I ended up kind of doing a top to bottom to bring the eye from the top left there of the card to the bottom right. Just kind of grouping a few together. I just try to, in this case with the bright colors, I try to keep a different color on top of one on the background so that they stand out a little bit more, since it is such bright colors. And I definitely want to be able to see both the sequins and the background. So I just found some blue and pink and green ones that kind of went along with that. It's that great Cheetah stencil is from MissInkStamps, and she had some great other animal prints as well come out with this that you can check out at MissInkStamps.com. She also has some really fun new ones coming out and that have just been released. They're a great price point at the single ones starting at $6.99. She makes them right in Illinois here in the U.S. It's family owned and run, so that's amazing. She makes them right in her shop there. So please go check that out, and thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you have a wonderful day and try this technique and have some fun with it and share it with me. Thanks so much.